The normal kind of thing to say about governments and public sector is that the most useful thing they can do is the enabling environment. The most useful thing they can do is to take away the barriers to business in the way that you're describing. And I'm sure that's absolutely right. I would just add to that, because it shakes people up a little bit, is that I think in so many of these countries, what we also need is this issue of entrepreneurship, of the values of entrepreneurship, and how one, and in a way that's enabling environment too, but not in the way that it's commonly understood. And I think that it's just a little bit counterintuitive, and I think it's worth stressing. I mean, I was very interested, you said that your choice of words, because you talked about, you said, all these people are employed, they all have business, they're all doing business, but maybe not in the way that we would understand the word business. That there is the nub of the issue, I think. How one, expands that and develops a surplus out of that, if you see what I mean. I mean, develops it in a market sense. And I think that's the challenge we have. On the issue of coordination, firstly, I think that the place where we really need to have coherence is at the country level. What we need to make sure is that in a particular country, that the actors there, the government, the private sector, civil society, that there's a knowledge base and people are coordinating in a way that you don't have people tripping over each other or duplicating efforts or wasting money or whatever. The idea that everything is going to be globally coordinated, I find a bit frightening. I would assume you would too. But it does need really much greater level of country coherence, and a lot of effort has gone into that, and I think we are making some progress. I'm not going to sit here and say I think everything is fine. I mean, we have a lot of problems. It goes country to country, but the commitment to try and get a much better sense of comparative advantages and synergy and who does what at the country level, I think we're all committed to that. I could go through chapter and verse on the specific initiatives to try and rope people in, but I'll spare you that. On the issue of leadership, I think leadership is critical. I mean, it's always going to be critical, but I think that it's so important again that we build from the from the bottom. I mean, this is also part of leadership, but that we build from the bottom up. A number of you here in the room have talked about the fact that there are entrepreneurs everywhere, that there are businessmen everywhere. We're not trying to invent, a businessman. The question is why, a process that took maybe 200 to 300 years to come to maturity in the States or in Europe or in the UK or whatever. Note I distinguish between Europe and the UK. I was just doing that automatically. We're trying in some respects to collapse that process into a couple of decades or a couple of generations in certain places. It's not that entrepreneurs don't exist or businesses don't exist, but the culture that gives rise to a flourishing capitalist kind of economy and which recognizes those values, we're trying to telescope, we're trying to collapse it in an incredibly short period of time. And I think that's a very challenging thing. So I would just emphasize that point. Lastly, on the impact question, I realize that was really for you, but I do just want to say that I absolutely agree with Akhtar that one of the key things that comes out of the crisis is that on our side, on the public sector, aid business, showing results, it's always been important, but my gosh, I mean, if we don't get it right now, we're really cooked. So I think that's very, very clear. At the same time, I'd be a little bit careful, and I know that this can be taken the wrong way, but I'd be a little bit careful about over-obsession on the measurement side, because you can also, any reasonably sensible, smart person can construct to deliver the measurement. So you can really get significant distortions if all of your energy goes to firstly to influencing what it is that you're going to measure, and then being able to show that you got it. And we got to avoid some of the problems that come from that kind of obsession as well. And we see it in a lot of aid industries. People get very, very good at constructing the precise criteria by which they can be spectacular.